Hello, and welcome to today's episode. Whether you're just starting out with English or you've been practicing for a while, this podcast is for you. I'm Sophia, and today we'll be talking about some of the best ways to practice English every single day.
Hi, everyone. I'm James. We're so glad you're here with us. Learning English takes time and effort, but with the right methods, you can improve every day. So, Sophia, what do you think is one of the most important things to remember when practicing English?
I'd say consistency is key. The more often you practice, the better. It's a bit like exercising. If you work out once a week, it's harder to see progress. But if you do something every day, even just for a few minutes, you'll notice a big improvement.
That's so true. It doesn't have to be hours of study each day either. Just 10 or 15 minutes of focused practice can make a difference. So, what's a good first method people can use to practice their English daily?
One simple method is listening to English as much as possible. There are lots of ways to do this. You can listen to podcasts, watch videos, or even play music in English. The important thing is to surround yourself with the language.
Exactly. The more you listen, the more your brain gets used to the sound of English. And you'll start picking up new words and phrases without even realizing it.
That's right. And here's something interesting. Even if you don't understand everything, don't worry. Just listening will help train your ear. Over time, you'll start understanding more and more.
Yes, and you can also try to repeat what you hear. If you're listening to a podcast or watching a video, pause it and try saying the sentences yourself. This helps with your speaking skills too.
Good point. It's like practicing your pronunciation without needing someone else to help you. Plus, it's a fun way to get involved with the language.
And while we're on the topic of listening, let's talk about using subtitles. Some people wonder whether they should use subtitles when watching something in English. What do you think, Sophia?
I think subtitles can be really helpful, especially for beginners. They help you connect the words you hear with how they're written. But if you're at an intermediate level, try turning the subtitles off sometimes. This will push you to rely on your listening skills more.
Yes, I agree. You can try both ways, with and without subtitles. It depends on how comfortable you feel. And remember, the goal is to improve little by little. Don't rush it.
Another great method is to talk to yourself in English. I know it sounds a bit funny, but it works. You can describe what you're doing, or even talk about your day. It's a good way to practice without feeling shy.
That's a fantastic idea. Talking to yourself might feel strange at first, but it helps you practice forming sentences in English. You don't need to worry about making mistakes because no one is listening.
Exactly. You can do it while you're cooking, walking, or even getting ready in the morning. And over time, it becomes more natural.
Another thing you can do is set small goals for yourself. For example, you can try to learn one new word or phrase each day. Then, use that word in a sentence or try to say it out loud.
Yes, that's a great way to grow your vocabulary. And once you've learned a word, try to use it in different ways. For example, if you learn the word excited, you can say, "I'm excited to learn English," or "I feel excited about tomorrow."
It's all about making the language part of your daily life. The more you use English, even in small ways, the more natural it will feel. So, we've talked about listening and speaking, but there are other methods too, right?
Definitely. Another effective method is reading. But we'll get into that soon. For now, just remember, practice every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. You'll be amazed at how much progress you can make.
Now that we've talked about listening and speaking in English, let's move on to another daily practice method that can really help. Reading. What do you think about reading, Sophia?
Reading is such a powerful tool when learning a new language. It helps improve your vocabulary, grammar, and understanding of sentence structures. Plus, it's something you can do at your own pace. You can take your time to understand each sentence or word.
That's right. You don't need to rush through it. You can reread parts that are difficult or look up words you don't know. Reading gives you control, and it's a really useful way to practice.
Exactly. And the best part is that there are so many things you can read. It doesn't have to be a long book or anything complicated. You can start with simple things like news articles, blogs, or even social media posts in English.
I agree. In fact, I always tell learners to start small. For example, you can read a children's book or short stories that are written for English learners. The language is simpler and you won't feel overwhelmed.
Yes, and once you feel more confident, you can move on to more challenging material, like longer articles or novels. But even at an elementary or intermediate level, there are so many things you can read that match your ability.
That's so true. And one of the best things about reading is that it helps with learning new words naturally. You'll often see words repeated in different contexts, which helps you understand their meaning without needing a dictionary every time.
Exactly, and when you see the same words over and over, it really sticks in your memory. I think that's a great benefit of reading. It helps you learn in context. You're not just memorizing a list of words, but you're seeing how those words are used in real situations.
Yes, and that's really important. Words can have different meanings depending on how they're used in a sentence. Reading shows you those different uses, and it makes learning more natural. You can also learn grammar this way, right?
Absolutely. You can learn how sentences are structured, where words are placed, and how tenses are used. The more you read, the more you get a feel for how English works. It's like learning the rules of the language without having to study grammar books.
That's a great point. And speaking of grammar, reading can also help you notice patterns. For example, you might see how questions are formed or how adjectives are used with nouns. And the more you see these patterns, the more familiar they become.
Yes, and one thing that helps me when I'm reading is to take notes. If you see a new word or an interesting sentence structure, you can write it down and look at it later. It's a good way to keep track of what you've learned and review it when you have time.
That's a great tip, and even better, after writing it down, you can challenge yourself to use that new word or structure in your own sentences. This helps you practice not just understanding, but also using what you've learned.
Exactly. You can also keep a journal in English. It doesn't have to be anything formal. You can just write about your day, your thoughts, or even what you learned in English that day. Writing helps you process what you've read, and it's a good way to practice putting words together.
Writing is such a great way to practice, especially when it comes to reinforcing what you've been reading. It helps turn passive learning into active learning, and don't worry about making mistakes. The more you practice, the more natural your writing will become.
That's such an important point. Many learners feel nervous about writing because they don't want to make mistakes, but mistakes are part of the process. The more you write, the more you learn from those mistakes, so don't be afraid to just write.
Definitely, and when you're reading, you can also try to summarize what you've read. For example, after finishing an article or a short story, try to explain it in your own words. This is a great way to check your understanding and practice speaking or writing.
Yes, that's a great exercise. And even if you're just reading a small paragraph, summarizing helps you focus on the main ideas and the key vocabulary. It doesn't have to be perfect, just try your best to put the information into your own words.
And don't forget, reading doesn't always have to be done alone. You can find a reading partner or join a reading group online. Discussing what you've read with someone else can make the experience more fun and give you new insights.
That's a great suggestion. Sometimes, talking about what you've read can help clarify things. You might understand something differently from the other person, and by sharing your thoughts, you both can learn more. It also gives you more practice speaking and listening.
Yes, it's all about building those connections between reading, writing, speaking, and listening. They all work together, so we've covered some great reading tips. How about reading aloud? Do you think it's a good method for practicing?
Reading aloud is one of the best ways to improve your pronunciation and fluency. When you read aloud, you're not only practicing your reading skills, but you're also working on speaking clearly and naturally.
Exactly. And even though it might feel a bit strange at first, it really helps. You can hear how words sound together, and you can get used to speaking at a more natural pace. Plus, it helps with confidence, too.
Yes, the more you read aloud, the more confident you become in using English. And if you're not sure about your pronunciation, there are tools online where you can listen to how words are pronounced and then try saying them yourself.
That's a great idea. You can even record yourself reading and then listen back. It might feel strange at first, but it's a good way to hear your progress and identify areas where you can improve.
Definitely, reading, writing, and speaking are all connected. The more you practice one skill, the more it helps with the others. So if you're reading every day, you're also building your vocabulary and improving your grammar, which will help with speaking and listening.
Exactly. It's all about making English a part of your daily life. Reading is just one way, but it's a very effective way. And remember, you don't have to read for hours. Even just 10 or 15 minutes a day can make a big difference.
Yes, consistency is key. A little bit every day will go a long way. So, to everyone listening, try to find something to read in English each day. It can be anything: an article, a story, or even just a few social media posts. Every bit of practice helps. So far, we've talked about listening, speaking, and reading as ways to practice English every day. Now, let's dive into something that many people overlook, but is really important: writing. Writing in English is such a powerful tool to improve your language skills, and it's something you can practice daily, no matter where you are.
That's true. Writing often seems like a big challenge for learners, but it doesn't have to be. You don't need to write long essays or formal letters to practice. In fact, starting small and keeping it simple can be just as effective. What are some easy ways people can begin practicing writing in English every day?
One of the easiest ways is to keep a daily journal. It's a really simple method, and it doesn't take much time. All you need is a notebook or even just your phone, and each day, write a few sentences about what you did. For example, you can talk about your plans for the day or how your day went. Even if it's just a couple of sentences, it's a great way to start.
I love that idea. It's such a low-pressure way to practice. And the more you write, the more comfortable you'll get with forming sentences and using new vocabulary. Plus, you're writing about things that matter to you, which makes it more personal and engaging.
Exactly. When you write about your own life, it's easier to find words because you're expressing your own thoughts. And over time, you'll start noticing how your writing improves. Maybe at first, you'll make some mistakes, but that's okay. Writing is one of the best ways to learn from your mistakes.
And speaking of mistakes, it's important to remember that no one writes perfectly all the time, even native speakers. So don't worry about making errors. In fact, when you make a mistake in writing, it gives you a chance to learn something new. If you don't know how to say something, you can always look it up and learn from that experience.
Yes, and that's a good point. After you write, you can take a little time to review what you've written. Look for areas where you can improve, like if you're using the right verb tenses or if you've structured your sentences correctly. And if you're not sure, there are many online tools that can help with checking your grammar and spelling.
Yes, there are so many tools available now. One simple tool is a dictionary or translation app. If you're unsure of a word, you can quickly look it up. And there are grammar checkers that can help you see where you've made mistakes and how to fix them. It's a great way to learn while you're writing.
That's true. And for those who want to challenge themselves a bit more, they can try writing longer pieces, like short stories, essays, or even blog posts. It doesn't have to be professional, but it's a good way to push your limits and see how much you can express in English.
I love that idea. Writing a short story, even if it's only a few paragraphs, helps you think creatively in English. It forces you to think about characters, settings, and plot, which brings in new vocabulary and sentence structures. It's a fun way to practice, and you can really let your imagination go.
Yes, and if you're writing a story, you can also practice using different tenses and expressions. For example, you might describe something that happened in the past, something happening now, or something that will happen in the future. It's a fantastic way to learn how to use all the different grammar rules in English.
That's a great point. Writing allows you to practice grammar in a natural way, just like reading does. And the more you practice, the more you'll start seeing patterns in how sentences are formed, how verbs are used, and how adjectives and adverbs fit into sentences.
Exactly. Writing also helps with memory. When you write something down, it sticks with you longer. That's why it's a good idea to write down new vocabulary words or phrases that you learn. You can use them in your writing and practice using them in different ways.
Yes, and it's also useful to write down phrases you hear when listening or watching something in English. For example, if you hear a new phrase in a podcast or a TV show, write it down and then try to use it in your own writing. This not only helps with understanding the phrase, but also with using it naturally.
That's a great tip. I also think that writing can help improve your speaking. If you're writing regularly, you're practicing forming sentences, and that helps when you're speaking because you'll have more confidence in how you express your thoughts.
Yes, I've noticed that too. Writing helps you organize your ideas, so when it's time to speak, you already know how to say what you want to say. It's like practicing speaking in a quiet, relaxed way before you do it out loud.
Exactly. And another way to practice writing is by sending messages or emails in English. If you have a friend who speaks English, or if you're part of an online community, try to write to them in English. Even if it's just a short message, it's a good way to practice informal writing.
Yes, writing messages or even comments on social media in English is a great way to practice. It's short, it's casual, and it's something most people do every day anyway. So, why not do it in English? The more you use English in your daily life, the better you'll get.
That's a fantastic way to bring English into your everyday routine. And when you write something like a message or a comment, you can take your time to think about what you want to say, which helps build confidence.
And it's also interactive, so you might get a reply in English, which gives you even more practice with reading and responding. It's a really natural way to improve all your skills at once: reading, writing, and even understanding different styles of communication.
Yes, interacting with others in English is a great way to learn, and writing messages or emails gives you real-life practice. It helps you see how English is used in different situations, like how to be formal or informal, depending on the context.
That's a really important skill to develop. Knowing how to adjust your language based on the situation is key, and writing is one of the best ways to practice that. You can try writing different types of emails, for example, one to a friend and one to a work colleague. You'll notice how your tone changes depending on who you're writing to.
Exactly. You learn so much from just trying to communicate in English. And remember, you don't have to be perfect. The more you write, the better you'll get. So whether it's a quick journal entry, a message to a friend, or a short story, you're improving with every word you write.
Yes, and the key is consistency. Writing a little bit every day, just like with reading and listening, adds up over time. Even if it's only a few sentences a day, that regular practice will help you see progress faster than you might expect.
That's right. Writing is such a powerful tool for learning. It reinforces what you're learning in other areas and helps you build confidence in using English. So, to everyone listening, try to find time to write something in English every day, no matter how small it is. It's a great way to practice.
As we reach the final part of our discussion about the best methods to practice English daily, we've already covered listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Each of these skills plays a crucial role in your language learning journey. But now let's explore how to combine them effectively.
That's right. Combining different methods not only makes practice more engaging, but also helps reinforce what you learn. When you integrate listening, speaking, reading, and writing, you're using English in a more holistic way, which can lead to greater understanding and fluency.
One effective way to combine these skills is through activities like watching English language films or TV shows. When you watch, you're listening to the language, seeing how it's used in context, and often reading subtitles. This multi-sensory experience helps you absorb vocabulary and phrases naturally.
Absolutely. Watching shows or movies can also give you insights into different accents, dialects, and cultural references. You get to see how people communicate in various situations, which helps you understand the practical use of language. Plus, if you enjoy what you're watching, you're more likely to stay engaged and motivated.
Exactly. And after watching something, you could write a summary of the episode or movie, or even discuss it with a friend. This way, you're practicing your writing and speaking skills while also reinforcing your listening and comprehension skills.
Yes, you could even create a mini review or critique of what you watched. This gives you a chance to express your opinions and thoughts, helping you practice how to articulate your ideas in English. The more you use English to discuss topics you enjoy, the more fluent you'll become.
That's a great suggestion. Another way to combine these skills is through language exchange programs or conversation clubs. In these settings, you can practice speaking and listening while also reading or writing notes about what you discuss. This interaction allows you to apply everything you've learned in real conversations.
Absolutely, language exchange partners can also provide valuable feedback on your speaking and writing. If you share your journal entries or written pieces with them, they can help correct any mistakes and offer tips for improvement. It's a fantastic way to learn from each other.
And if you're in a conversation club, you can engage in discussions on various topics, which helps you learn to express your thoughts in different ways. You'll not only be practicing your speaking skills, but also improving your ability to listen and understand different perspectives.
Yes, group discussions can also help you build confidence. Speaking in front of others, even if it's just a small group, allows you to practice thinking on your feet. You'll learn to respond quickly and adapt your language to the situation, which is a key skill in real-life conversations.
And don't forget about using social media for practice. You can follow English-speaking accounts, join groups related to your interests, and engage with posts. By commenting and interacting, you're practicing writing while also being exposed to informal language and slang.
That's a fantastic point. Social media can be a great way to practice your English in a more casual setting. You can also watch videos or live streams in English, which gives you the chance to see how native speakers communicate in real time.
Exactly. Plus, many platforms allow you to ask questions or interact directly with the content creator or other viewers. This interaction can help you practice your writing and comprehension skills in a fun and engaging way.
Now, let's talk about setting goals for your English practice. It's important to have clear, achievable goals that guide your learning. For instance, you might set a goal to read 1 article a day, write in your journal 3 times a week, or practice speaking for 10 minutes daily.
That's such an important aspect of learning. Setting specific goals helps you stay focused and motivated. And remember, it's okay to start small. If you're new to English, even a goal like reading a few sentences or writing a few words each day is a great start.
Yes, and as you reach those goals, you can gradually increase them. Celebrate your progress, no matter how small it may seem. Each step you take is a step closer to fluency. And don't be afraid to adjust your goals if you find they are too easy or too difficult.
That's a great point. Flexibility is key in your learning journey. Also, consider finding a way to track your progress. You could keep a learning diary or use an app to help you monitor what you've accomplished. This way, you can see how far you've come, which can boost your confidence.
Definitely, reflecting on your progress can be very motivating. And don't forget to reward yourself for reaching your goals. Treat yourself to something special when you complete a certain milestone in your learning process.
That's a nice way to stay motivated, and remember to find joy in your learning. Choose topics that interest you, whether it's music, sports, travel, or food. When you enjoy what you're doing, you'll be more likely to stick with it.
That's so true. Passion makes a big difference in how quickly you learn. It turns practice into something enjoyable rather than a chore. So, as you practice English daily, focus on activities that excite you and make you want to learn more.
And lastly, don't forget the importance of patience. Learning a new language takes time, and there will be ups and downs along the way. Embrace the process and remember that every effort you make is contributing to your growth.
Absolutely. Stay positive and keep pushing forward. Surround yourself with supportive people who encourage you in your language learning journey. Whether it's friends, family, or fellow learners, having a support system can make a huge difference.
Yes, so to everyone listening, remember that the best methods to practice English daily are within your reach. Whether it's listening, speaking, reading, writing, or combining these skills, you have the tools to succeed. Just keep practicing, stay motivated, and enjoy the journey.
We hope you found these tips helpful and that you feel inspired to incorporate these methods into your daily routine. Practice makes progress, so keep going. Thank you for joining us today, and we wish you the best on your English learning adventure.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this podcast with your family and friends. Your support means a lot to us, and we hope to see you next time.